Hey there, it's Sam with another writing talk for you, a Friday writing talk. Um, the moral of today's talk, or lesson, or whatever you want to call it, the application I'm going to come back around to is basically as follows. I'm going to say embrace creativity and kind of, I guess you could say, embrace all your ideas. I mean, maybe not all your ideas, but even if they seem weird or silly or strange, embrace them and at least be willing to think through them or whatever, because well, for a couple of reasons. One, a lot of our works out there, like fiction and TV and stuff, are getting more and more niche. So even for things that are weird or silly, there's might be an audience for it today. Two, you can't pursue every idea you have. You can't publish every idea you have. It's just not feasible. But I mean, even if you play with the weird or silly or strange ones, then it's still good practice for your writing, for your art, for whatever it is you're doing. It could lead to something you use later, or it could just be for fun, which is also valuable. Not everything has to be published, so there is value for a creative person like you and I in embracing ideas, even if they're not all your best idea, even if you think it's strange. There's value in that. I'm going to circle back to that whole opening moral or whatever, and tell you why I'm thinking of that today. Honestly, I didn't have a special talk lined up for this week. I was thinking about topics even in the past day or two, and trying to find one to talk about. And I had a few ideas in the back of my mind that I'll use later. But I found out last night that a friend of mine passed away. A good friend, actually. He was. I've known him since ninth grade, high school. It's 18 years for me. I met him in 2004. And he's been not just a friend of mine since high school, but he became a friend to my whole family too, and my brothers are friends with him, and he was a regular at our house and things like that growing up. And I found out last night he passed away unexpectedly. He's about my age, 33. I'm 32. He was 33. And anyway, sorry, I forgot where I was going with that. It's my friend Mark, and if you knew him, you remember him. Or if you ever met him, you remember him. And he had some very very creative ideas that I'll share some of those with you. But just kind of in processing my feelings and thinking about him, I was like, I can't really do a writing talk today, like without thinking about this, without thinking about what I just found out last night. Honestly, that he's gone. Or I believe I'll see him again one day. I believe he's in heaven, but that's different topic for depending on your views on that. But it's just he's gone from us for now, and so like last night as I was thinking through things, I was like, Mark taught me a lot about creativity and about I mean not necessarily writing itself, but about different ideas. So let me try to tell you about my friend Mark, and just why he was such a special guy, and some of the ideas he came up with. So Mark, he's hard to describe. Like I said, if you met him, you even once or twice, you probably remember him. His dad, when he posted about the loss of Mark, he even said Mark was delightfully quirky. He was definitely eccentric. I mean, he called himself weird, so like I don't think he'd be offended if I said he was one of the weirdest people I knew in a good way, or one of the most unique, if you prefer that. He's definitely, I mean, you can call him a nerd. I mean, he loves superheroes and stuff and movies and stuff like I do, and he also sometimes just didn't get social cues. I mean, I don't know if he had a specific condition or if he was ever diagnosed as being on the spectrum, but he had some of those aspects of someone who obsesses over a hobby or a piece of art perhaps, and maybe is better in those worlds than he is in socializing or things like that. But he had a heart of gold. He was a very generous person, and very giving and friendly to everyone. Very talkative. He would always talk to you about whatever whatever movie he was watching, or whatever superhero he was into, or the art project he was working on. He would talk and talk and talk about it. I obsess over those things too, but I don't always talk about them like endlessly. So I mean, sometimes it was much for me, but that was just Mark. That was him. And like I said, he was very giving, very generous, friendly to everyone. I never saw him be intentionally unkind to anyone that I can think of. I mean, it's been 18 years, and that's just not who he was. And of course, he was a creative. He was a very creative soul. Art, like visual arts and graphic design, was more his thing. He was working on some graphic design stuff on the side, hoping to get into it one day. Um, so I first met Mark in my ninth grade art class. Again, like 18 years ago for me. Um, I drew a picture in art class one day of Bat Hulk, which, yes, is just as ridiculous as it sounds like. It's the Hulk with a Batman costume, or maybe Bruce Wayne being turned into the Hulk. I don't know, but for whatever you want to call it, it's Bat Hulk. I just drew that because I was thinking of different superheroes or whatever one day, and Mark came along, commented on it, and we found out we both liked superheroes and started talking about those things, and that's how we became friends. I think the first time we hung out outside of school was to see Spider-Man 2. So again, 2004. I've known him for a long time, and we became, he came over to my house afterward. We became fast friends after that. He liked superheroes. He's more of a TV and movie guy than a comic book guy, like I am. He's reading and writing were not his strong suit as much as speech and visual art. He was born and raised in Brazil because his parents were missionaries, and so English is not his first language, or I don't even know if he learned English at the same time as Portuguese or later. But I mean, he can speak as well as native speaker, but reading and writing were not his strong suit. So he was a TV and movie guy, but and I mean, he did honestly. He was eccentric enough. He told some tall tales, like he would say things this that's not how this character was, because I've read the because I know the original character, and this isn't true to the originals. He once told me he had been able to chat online with like Stan Lee and the comics creators. That was like ninth grade. I'm pretty sure that wasn't true. He told some tall tales, and whether he believed it or not, or to what extent, I can't comment on that really. It's just he said some of these things, and we kind of went along with it. Maybe in ninth grade we were like too didn't know how to respond, or almost willing to believe things like that. I don't know. He also claimed to have some kind of powers or abilities. I mean, he didn't call them powers. He called it more like heart reading. Like he could sense people's hearts or something like that. Do with that what you will. He was again a unique guy. It's yeah. Oh, sorry, my friend. Yeah, my friend Elizabeth just noticed, commented that he passed away. Yeah, I just found out last night, so I'm sorry to bear the news to you too. Thank you for your prayers. But and it was unexpected, and it was I don't know if they know what caused it yet. They said it's he stopped breathing while he was sleeping, and I know he had sleep apnea, and I know he had like breathing conditions and stuff like that. I guess so. He could have been bad sleep apnea where they found him. They just found him not breathing in the night. I don't know. Anyway, I just found out last night. Still processing this too. And yeah, so again, I mean, he told tall tales or whatever. He made some weird claims that I'm not sure what to do with today, and he would say things like, this character wasn't originally like this. He wanted things to be true to the source material, but I think the source material was just more his interpretation of how he was first introduced to the character. So whatever, do with that what you will. But he loved superheroes. We bonded over that. I mean, he loved TV and movies. We bonded over those things. And he was a Christian, which I also am. So, we had our faith in common and lots of things in common. Yeah, so, I mean, Mark had created some superheroes of his own, and he always wanted to tell stories about them. But again, he's an art guy. He's not a reading and writing guy. So once we started becoming friends and talking about these things, he told me like, I'll get you one day to help me write these stories, because I am a writer. And I'm more on that side of things. I did maybe art on the side once in a while, but it's just but yeah, it's Anyway, but yeah, it's not my main thing. So we kind of brainstormed some things together, and I mean, he still said even in recent years, like I'll still, once I get my stories out, I'll get you to help, I don't know, ghostwrite or whatever the term is, but yeah, I mean, obviously that's not quite going to happen now, but we were talking about it even in recent years. Honestly, I thought his ideas were weird and strange, because he was a weird and strange person, and it's okay. Like I don't know if they all would have been good TV shows or good comic books, but then again, like we have niche stuff today being very successful. Like we have like Doom Patrol. If you've watched it, it's a ridiculous show. I mean, there's mature themes, but it's also it really embraces the comic book ridiculousness of just all kinds of random weird stuff. She-Hulk, it's on right now. Some people don't like it because it's being comedic. It's not a traditional superhero show, but I mean it's funny and people are watching it. I think it's funny. It's intentionally sarcastic and silly. It's intentionally not taking itself seriously. So there are shows that are, you know, intentionally not you know, not like the traditional superhero thing, that they're you know, that where the genre has embraced all kinds of niche stuff because we're, you know, 20 plus years into our cultural superhero craze and people want more and different things. And so who knows, maybe some of Mark's ideas could have made it. I'll tell you about them here in just a moment. So one of his was Monkey Man, which I mean doesn't sound that strange compared to superheroes. Yes, it was a clear ripoff of Spider-Man. Well, he told a story of when he was younger and he got bitten by a monkey, um, which, you know, he grew up in Brazil. I think that could have happened. I think it probably did happen. And of course, thought of like Spider-Man getting bitten by a spider. So we made up this thing about Monkey Man, and I wrote the words to a Monkey Man theme song, which was just a parody of the Spider-Man theme song, same tune and everything. Um, and in our ninth grade art class, we actually there was like a group project, like a sculpture kind of thing, and we made like a 3 foot sculpture of Monkey Man. And we well, a couple things are funny about that we like recorded us singing the song and like pressed the button on a tape recorder, and that was like inside the sculpture, so you could actually like play the theme song. That was kind of silly, but also Mark, being the eccentric that he is, you know, Monkey Man has to be hairy and stuff. So he got some actual hair, either from his haircut or like his dad's haircut. I don't know, but he saved some hair in a bag and like brought like some paste over to my house, and we put this real hair onto this sculpture of Monkey Man. It was disgusting. I don't know why we did that. That's the kind of person Mark was. He had these ideas and he would just go with it. But we made this statue of Monkey Man. And Monkey Man's sidekick was going to be Chimpy. Another one was Nobody No One was a character. I'm not sure that character's origins or anything. I think the idea was that he was, yes, I mean, I'm not sure how you would explain it in a sci-fi fantasy universe, but somehow he was like, his power was he could do what nobody could do. So like he was like the essence of whoever didn't exist or whoever was nobody. And like if anyone said, "Oh, nobody can do this," then nobody can do it. So I made up this scenario where like the villain would say things like, "My plan is perfect, nobody can stop me now," and then no one comes in and is like, "You got that right," and punches him in the face, and that was just kind of the moment we had made up. He had one who was called Reed Heartmind, who was more like a detective. He would have been more, like I said, Mark's power, if you want to call it that, or his ability he claimed to have was heart reading, not mind reading, but heart reading. So Reed Heartmind was based on that aspect, and he would have been someone who could not necessarily read minds, but I guess maybe sense people's emotions, sense people's thoughts, infer things about people, and he was like going to be maybe a detective like hero, something like that. He had one called the Elementary Force, this is the one I think is weird and wacky, and I don't know if it would work, but it's a creative idea. It was a group of kids, like a whole kindergarten class, or maybe they grew up later, but elementary kids, 26 of them, and they were like each of their names was like a letter from A to Z. So like each one had a letter of the alphabet. There's 26 of them, and somehow on their field trip they got powers, and each had a power over an element that began with a different letter. Like the guy for A was air, and F was fire. I don't remember all of them because there were 26, and we had to, fudge some of them and find an element or whatever that worked with it. But he at least started writing that story. I mean, I read a version of it a while back. I mean again, the writing wasn't good. That wasn't his thing. But I read the beginning of it, and the idea was interesting, and I think he had them growing up and like becoming like he was going to follow them throughout their elementary career, maybe later in life too, and things like that. He had all these big ideas of things he wanted to do with his stories. And the last one I'll tell you about, the last of his superheroes. This is going to sound dirty. If you know Mark, he did not mean it this way at all. He did not mean it in a dirty way at all. But his favorite superhero was the Flash, actually. He loved the Flash, who has super speed. And Mark created a character called the Vibrator, who can basically vibrate at super speed and like vibrate through walls or whatever, or through dimensions or something. Now on the Flash TV show, there actually was a character called Vibe who has very similar powers, like vibration powers and stuff like that. So he can. So I'm like the character concept wasn't bad. They used a character and a similar name on an actual successful superhero TV show. It's just the name Vibrator wouldn't be taken seriously for obvious reasons that I don't have to explain to you. And Mark didn't know that or get that, so don't make that connection. But anyway, those were some of his superheroes he was going to write about, and we talked about them in high school and even into college and such. Because we went to the same college. I mean, we weren't as close because in college your friend circle changes, but we saw each other around some of the time. And yeah. So Mark passed away last night, and he didn't get to realize all of his stories, but he had these creative ideas, and I even had the ideas. I mean, years ago, back in high school, probably to like write some kind of creative fiction that was loosely based on our friendship. Like, I mean, he was this weird guy. I would make him like, I don't know, in the story he'd be like a mutant or an alien or something. I don't know, and I'm smart. I mean, I'm not like super genius smart, but I was smart in high school, and I would make myself like basically one genius and one freak coming together to solve crimes or take on villains. And I never wrote that, but I had an idea in my head back in high school. I'm like, it could be a fun young adult series. I planned out some of the adventures we'd have based on either inside jokes or stories he told us, or the stories that we had together. I planned out at least broad ideas, not detailed plans ever. I had broad ideas for like 4 or 5 books. I don't remember what they all were now. I don't know if I'll ever write that, but hey, I mean, maybe I still could. Maybe I still could write a young adult series like that. That's loosely based on our friendship. I don't know. Anyway, my moral there is, yeah, Mark's ideas were weird. Some of them were silly. Some of them wouldn't have worked. Some of them might have worked with tweaks or whatever. And I don't know. Sometimes I maybe subconsciously wrote off those ideas because they're weird, and I'm sure I wasn't intentionally patronizing. Maybe once in a while I was without meaning to be, but I was like, yeah. These are ideas. I mean, I don't know if you'll ever actually do anything with them. I didn't, we didn't really expect them to become big, published franchises or anything. But I helped him. I kind of indulged him in creating those stories, and they're creative stories, and we may never write them all, or I mean, even if he hadn't died, we're just life is busy and we're adults, and it takes time to do these things. So there's a good chance we still wouldn't have gotten to them all, but who knows? Maybe there's a gem or a diamond in the rough somewhere in there. So my moral today, I know this is, I'm talking about myself and my friend, which is fine, but this is mostly a writing series. But my application to writing today is embrace creativity wherever you can find it, even if the ideas are weird or silly. You never know when they might pay off or when they might lead to something else. And again, not all creative ideas have to be published into these grand successful franchises. It can just be a story you have with you and your friends, and then if as you get older, heaven forbid, but if you lose a friend, you'll have those memories, you'll have those ideas with them. Um, I hope you embrace your creativity. I hope you have a friend, someone in your life who was maybe half as creative or special as Mark, because he was a special guy. There's no other way to describe that, and I'm gonna miss him. So there's my application. There's my ode to my friend. If you knew him, I hope you appreciate that, and hope you have a wonderful weekend. Those of you who pray, thank you for praying for Mark's family and for those of us who loved him. And I'll sign off now. Thanks.